The kitchen clock ticked louder than usual that morning, each second a hammer against my skull. I sat at the worn oak table, the same one where I'd raised my daughter, Emily, through scraped knees and teenage tantrums. Now, at 70, my hands trembled not from age, but from the letter I held a bank notice that my retirement savings, the nest egg I'd scraped together over decades of teaching, was nearly gone. $50,000. Vanished. The statement showed a transfer, unauthorized, to an account I didn't recognize. My chest tightened, a familiar ache from years of widowhood. But this pain was sharper, laced with betrayal. I'd always been frugal. Every penny saved was a promise to myself a quiet retirement. Maybe a small cottage by the lake where I could read novels and tend a garden. Emily knew this. She'd grown up watching me clip coupons, mend her clothes, and skip vacations to secure that future. So how could Shemi, only child, the one I'd poured every hope into, the one to take it? The account number on the statement matched hers. I'd helped her open it when she was 16, teaching her to save for college. Now, it mocked me. I called her immediately, my voice steady despite the storm inside. Emily, we need to talk. Now. She arrived an hour later. Her fiancé, Mark, trailing behind. They were a picture of young lover in a floral dress, him in a crisp button-up, both glowing with wedding plans. The engagement ring on her finger glinted, a diamond far beyond what a barista and a junior accountant could afford. My stomach churned. Mom, what's wrong? Emily's voice was light, but her eyes flickered with something guilt. Maybe. I slid the bank statement across the table. Her face paled as she read it, her hands fidgeting with the hem of her dress. Mark looked confused, glancing between us. Explain this, I said, my tone cold. $50,000. Emily. My savings. Gone. She stammered, her cheeks flushing. Tu was going to tell you. I needed it for the wedding. The venue. The dress. The catering, it all added up so fast. I thought I'd pay you back before you noticed. Pay me back. My voice cracked, the hurt spilling out. With what? Your tips from the coffee shop. You took my future. Emily. You didn't even ask. Mark shifted uncomfortably, his eyes on the floor. Mrs. Harper. I didn't know. Didn't know. I cut him off. My gaze locked on Emily. She knew. She knew what that money meant to me. To us. I stood, my chair scraping the linoleum. You've left me with nothing. No security. No plans. Just a hole where my life's work was. Emily's eyes filled with tears. Mom, I'm sorry. I got caught up in the moment. The wedding gets a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I thought you'd understand. Understand. I laughed, bitter and hollow. I understood when I worked overtime to pay for your braces. I understood when I skipped my own dreams to send you to college. But this is theft. The room fell silent, the clocks ticking deafening. Emily reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I'm canceling the wedding, I said, the words slicing through the air. You used my money for it, so it's my decision to end it. Consider it my repayment. Emily gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Mark's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. I turned and walked to my bedroom, shutting the door on their stunned faces. My heart pounded, torn between rage and a mother's love that refused to die. Even now. That night, I couldn't sleep. The house felt too big, too empty. I wandered to the living room, where photo albums lined the shelves. I pulled one down, its pages brittle with age. There was Emily at 5, gap-toothed and grinning, holding my hand at the county fair. Another at 16. Her prom dress a thrift store find I'd altered to fit her perfectly. Each photo was a memory of sacrifice, of love that asked for nothing in return. Until now. I thought of calling her, of softening my words. But the bank statement on the coffee table glared at me. She'd crossed a line. I'd always taught her to own her mistakes. But this wasn't a spilled glass of milk or a missed curfew. This was my future, stolen without a word. The wedding, her dream, had become my nightmare. Canceling it felt like the only way to reclaim anything from the wreckage. The next morning, I drove to the wedding venue, a charming barn strung with fairy lights. The owner, a kind woman named Clara, frowned when I explained the situation. "You're sure?" she asked, her pen hovering over the cancellation form. I nodded, signing my name with a steady hand. The deposit money was non-refundable, but I didn't care. This wasn't about the cash. It was about consequences. When I got home, Emily was waiting on my porch, her eyes red and puffy. "You actually did it," she whispered. "You canceled my wedding." "You left me no choice," I said, my voice softer now, but firm. "You broke my trust, Emily. Trust takes years to build and seconds to destroy." She sank onto the steps, burying her face in her hands. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I wanted it to be perfect. For Mark. For me. For us. I thought I could fix it later." "Some things can't be fixed," I said, sitting beside her. The weight of our shared history pressed against us, heavy and unspoken. "But we can try to understand each other. Tell me why. Why didn't you ask?" She looked up, her eyes searching mine. "I was afraid you'd say no. You're always so careful with money. And I didn't want to disappoint Mark. He's been so stressed about his job. And I thought a perfect wedding would make everything okay." I sighed, the anger ebbing into something sadder. "A wedding doesn't fix things, Emily. Love does. Honesty does. You should have trusted me." We sat there, the silence stretching between us. Two women bound by blood but divided by choices. I wanted to forgive her, to wrap her in my arms like when she was small. But the wound was too fresh. Instead, I stood and went inside, leaving her on the porch with her regrets. The days that followed were a blur of silence and tension. Emily stopped coming by, and I didn't call her. The house, once filled with her laughter, felt like a museum of memories I couldn't touch. I busied myself with small tasks cleaning the attic, organizing my books, but the emptiness lingered. My savings account, now a skeleton of its former self, haunted every decision. Could I afford the heating bill? The groceries? Each question was a reminder of what I'd lost. I told myself I'd done the right thing. Emily needed to learn, to face the consequences of her actions. But late at night, when the world was quiet, doubt crept in. Had I been too harsh? Was canceling her wedding revenge? Or was it justice? The line between the two blurred, and I wrestled with the mother I wanted to be versus the woman fighting for her own survival. One afternoon, Mark showed up at my door. Alone. His usual confidence was gone, replaced by a nervous energy. He held a manila envelope, his knuckles white from gripping it. "Mrs. Harper, can we talk?" he asked, his voice low. I let him in, gesturing to the couch. He sat, the envelope resting on his lap like a weight. "Emily's a mess," he said, not meeting my eyes. "She hasn't eaten in days. She thinks you hate her." My heart twisted, but I kept my face neutral. "I don't hate her. I love her. That's why this hurts so much." He nodded, running a hand through his hair. I didn't know about the money. I swear. She told me she'd saved up from her job, that it was all under control. If I'd known, he trailed off, his jaw tight. I'd have stopped her. I believed him. Mark was a good man, steady in a way Emily sometimes wasn't. But his loyalty to her didn't erase the facts. Why are you here, Mark? I asked. He slid the envelope toward me. This is everything I have. My savings about $10,000. It's not much, but it's a start. I want to pay you back, for Emily's sake and mine. I opened the envelope, finding a cashier's check and a handwritten note listing his bank details. It was a gesture, small but sincere. This doesn't fix everything, I said, my voice softening. But it means something. I know, he said. Emily's sorry. Mrs. Harper. She's just too ashamed to face you. She thinks she's lost you forever. Those words hit harder than the bank statement. Losing Emily wasn't what I wanted. I'd canceled the wedding to teach her a lesson, not to sever our bond. But how do you rebuild trust when it's been shattered? I thanked Mark and sent him away, promising to think about it. The check sat on my table, a fragile bridge between us. A week later, I found myself at the community center, where I volunteered teaching literacy classes. The familiar routine greeting students, correcting their work grounded me. One of my students, Maria, a grandmother like me, noticed my distraction. You okay, Evelyn? She asked, her accent warm and concerned. I hesitated, then told her everything. The theft, the wedding, the silence. Maria listened, her eyes kind but sharp. You did what you thought was right, she said. But family's messy. Sometimes, you gotta let the hurt breathe before you can heal it. Her words stayed with me. That evening, I called Emily. She answered on the first ring, her voice small. Mom, I'm not ready to forgive you, I said, choosing honesty. But I don't want to lose you. Come over tomorrow. We'll talk. She arrived the next day, carrying a box of my favorite chamomile tea and olive branch. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where this nightmare began. I was wrong, she said, her voice breaking. I got so caught up in the wedding, in making everything perfect, that I forgot what mattered. You. Us. I listened, letting her words settle. She told me about the pressure she'd felt at Instagram perfect weddings, Mark's family expecting grandeur, her fear of falling short. I thought I could handle it, she said. I thought I'd pay you back with my next raise. But it was stupid. I see that now. You should have come to me, I said, my voice steady but softer. We could have figured it out together. I know, she whispered, tears spilling. I'm so sorry, Mom. I'll do anything to make this right. I reached for her hand, the first touch since that awful day. We'll figure it out, I said, echoing my own words. But it's going to take time. We spent the afternoon talking, peeling back layers of hurt and misunderstanding. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a start. The wedding was still canceled, the venue booked by another couple. But Emily seemed less broken by it now. Maybe, in losing the dream, she was finding something real. Time is a strange healer. It doesn't erase wounds, but softens their edges, letting you carry them differently. A month passed, and Emily and I were trying. She'd taken a second job, waitressing at night to save money. Mark contributed too, picking up freelance work. They gave me small payments, $500 here, $300 there toward the stolen savings. It wasn't much, but it was effort, proof they were trying to mend what was broken. I started teaching an extra class at the community center to cover my bills. The work was exhausting, but it gave me purpose. My students, many of them immigrants or retirees like me, reminded me of resilience. They'd faced wars, poverty, loss, yet here they were, learning to read, to write, to dream again. Their stories humbled me, put my own pain in perspective. One evening, Emily invited me to dinner at their apartment. It was a modest place, cluttered with second-hand furniture and wedding magazines they hadn't thrown out. Mark cooked spaghetti, and we ate on mismatched plates, the mood tentative but warm. "We've been thinking," Emily said, glancing at Mark. "We want to get married, but not like before. Something small, maybe at the courthouse. Just us, you, and a few friends." I set my fork down, surprised. "No big wedding." She shook her head. "I don't need it. I thought I did. But I just want to be with Mark. And I want you there, Mom. If you'll come." Her words stirred something in me. Hope. "Maybe. I'll be there," I said, my voice catching. "But you're paying for it this time." She laughed, a sound I hadn't heard in months. "Deal." That night, lying in bed, I thought about the wedding I'd canceled. I'd done it in anger, but it had forced Emily to face her mistake. Maybe it had forced me to face something to my own stubbornness, my need to control. I'd spent years planning my retirement, clinging to a vision of independence. But life wasn't a plan. It was messy, unpredictable, human. The courthouse wedding was set for spring. Emily and Mark planned it meticulously, budgeting every cent. I offered to help with small things, baking cookies for the reception, lending my old pearl earrings for Emily to wear. Each gesture felt like a stitch in the fabric we were mending. But trust is slow to rebuild. Some days, I'd catch myself checking my bank account, half expecting another betrayal. Emily sensed it, her apologies coming in quiet moments, a note left on my fridge, a hug that lingered. She was trying, and I was learning to let her. One afternoon, while sorting through old papers, I found a letter Emily had written me in high school, thanking me for always being there. "You're my rock," she'd written in her loopy teenage handwriting. I cried reading it, not for the past, but for the future we were trying to reclaim. At the community center, Maria noticed my lighter mood. "You and your girl figuring things out?" she asked. "Trying," I said. "It's not perfect, but it's something." She smiled. "That's family. You fight. You hurt. You heal. Keep going." Her words carried me through the weeks leading to the wedding. I started to see Emily not just as my daughter, but as a woman grappling with her own flaws, her own dreams. She wasn't perfect, but neither was I. Maybe that was the point. Spring arrived, painting the town in soft pinks and greens. The courthouse wedding was simple but beautiful. Emily wore a white sundress, her hair loose, and Mark looked nervous but happy in a borrowed suit. I stood in the small crowd, my heart a tangle of pride and lingering hurt. When the judge pronounced them husband and wife, Emily turned to me first, her smile tentative but real. I hugged her, feeling the weight of our journey in that embrace. The reception was at a local park, with picnic tables and homemade food. Emily and Mark had saved enough to cover it, refusing my offers to chip in beyond the cookies. Friends toasted with plastic cups, and children ran through the grass, their laughter a backdrop to the day. I watched Emily dance with Mark, her laughter brighter than I'd heard in years. For the first time, I felt like we might be okay. But healing isn't linear. A week after the wedding, I got a call from the bank. Another unauthorized transfer attempt. this time caught before it went through. My heart sank, fearing Emily had slipped back into old habits. I confronted her, my voice shaking. Tell me this wasn't you. She looked horrified, pulling out her phone to show me her account clean. No suspicious activity. Mom, I swear, it's not me. I'd never do that again. We traced the attempt to a phishing scam targeting seniors. I'd clicked a suspicious email link months ago, not thinking. The bank froze the account, and no money was lost. But the scare reopened old wounds. Emily stayed with me that night, helping me secure my accounts. Her patience a quiet apology. I'm not that person anymore, she said, her voice firm. I messed up, but I'm trying to be better. For you. For Mark. For me. I nodded, wanting to believe her. I know. I'm trying too. That summer, I sold my car, an old sedan I rarely drove, to bolster my savings. Emily and Mark helped me find a reliable used one, negotiating the price like a team. Their payments continued, small but steady, and I started to rebuild. Not just my savings, but my faith in us. At the community center, I took on a new project starting a financial literacy class for seniors. I shared my story, not the details, but the lessons. Trust your instincts. Protect your future. Forgive, but don't forget. The class grew, and I found purpose in helping others avoid my mistakes. Emily visited often, bringing Mark or just herself. We cooked together, laughed over old photos, and talked about the future. She was saving for a house now, determined to do it right. I saw glimpses of the girl I'd raised fierce, flawed, but growing. One evening, she handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for $5,000. Their biggest payment yet. We've been saving, she said. It's not everything, but it's what we can do now. I held the check, my eyes stinging. Thank you, I said, meaning it. It wasn't just the money, it was the effort, the proof that she valued me. By fall, our relationship had settled into something new, not the blind trust of before, but a cautious, hopeful bond. Emily and Mark invited me to their apartment for Thanksgiving, a small gathering with his parents and a few friends. I brought my sweet potato casserole, a recipe my mother had passed down. As we ate, I listened to their plans, a trip they were saving for, a promotion Emily was eyeing. They were building a life, one choice at a time. After dinner, Emily pulled me aside. Mom, I've been thinking. I want to help you plan your retirement again. Not just paying you back, but really planning. A cottage. Maybe. Like you always wanted. I smiled. Touched, but realistic. That's sweet. But it's a long way off. Let's focus on now. She shook her head. No. I mean it. I took that dream from you. I want to help you get it back. Her words stayed with me. That night, I dug out my old retirement binder, filled with clippings of lakeside cottages and budget spreadsheets. It felt like a relic, but I started updating it, dreaming a little. Maybe not a cottage, but a small apartment with a garden. Something mine. The community center became my anchor. My financial literacy class was a hit, and I started mentoring younger volunteers, sharing what I'd learned about resilience and forgiveness. Maria, my student turned friend, joined me, her humor lightening the work. You're tougher than you look, she teased one day. Canceling a wedding. That's some fire. I laughed. The sound easier now. It wasn't my finest moment, but it woke us all up. Emily and I kept mending. She'd call to check in, share small victories, a raise, a paid-off credit card. Each step forward was a brick in the bridge we were rebuilding. I wasn't naive. I monitored my accounts closely, set up alerts. But I also let myself trust her. A little more each day. One winter morning, she showed up with a gifted journal. Its cover embossed with a lake scene. "For your dreams," she said. "Write them down. We'll make them happen. Together." I hugged her. The journal a symbol of something bigger. We weren't just mother and daughter anymore. We were two people learning to navigate mistakes and redemption. A year after the betrayal, I stood in my backyard, planting tulip bulbs with Emily. The air was crisp, the ground soft from recent rain. She handed me a bulb, her fingers stained with dirt. "These'll bloom in spring," she said. "Like us." I smiled, placing the bulb in the earth. "Like us." We'd come far. The payments continued, totaling nearly $20. 000 now. My savings weren't whole, but they were growing. More importantly, Emily had grown. She'd quit her second job, her raise at the coffee shop enough to cover their bills. Mark's freelance work stabilized, and they were saving for a house. I was proud, not just of them, but of myself for holding firm, for teaching her a lesson that stuck. The canceled wedding, once a wound, was now a story we told with careful laughter. It had been a breaking point, but also a turning point. Emily had learned about consequences. I'd learned about forgiveness. And together we'd learned about love, not the blind kind, but the kind that sees flaws and chooses to stay. At the community center, my classes thrived. I'd started a support group for seniors facing financial scams, sharing my story openly now. It wasn't easy, admitting my vulnerability, but it helped others. One woman, Clara, told me my story gave her the courage to confront her own son about a similar betrayal. "You showed me family can heal," she said. I carried her words like a badge. That evening, Emily and Mark came over for dinner. We ate at the oak table, the bank statement long gone, replaced by a vase of flowers they'd brought. After dessert, Emily handed me another check $2,000, their latest payment. "We're getting there," she said, her eyes bright. "You are," I said, squeezing her hand. "We are." Later, as they left, I stood at the door, watching them walk hand in hand. The journal Emily gave me sat on my nightstand, filled with new plants, a small trip next year, maybe a garden shed. Dreams, not as grand as before, but real, grounded in the life we'd rebuilt. I thought of Maria's words, "Family's messy, but you keep going." We had. Through betrayal, anger, and redemption, we'd found our way back. Not to the past, but to something better, a future where trust was earned, love was tested, and forgiveness was a choice we made every day.